And we are live, people. Another CEO Wisdom Pod Sports Edition with none other than Nicholas Chase. He is CEO at Real Triathlon Squad, also has his podcast, so please check him out. We're going to talk about one of my favorite sports of all time, triathlon. I think it's really complete. That and MMA has always been the most satisfying sports for me personally. So, Nick, I'm excited to have you on. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself and a bit more about Real Triathlon Squad?
Yeah, I'd love to. I've been competing professionally for 10 years. I was in the U.S. Air Force, so a lot of skills with suffering for, various reasons for the country, of course, And then after a while, I decided I wanted to do all that suffering for myself and, put it into a career. I've been a little bit of an entrepreneur as we've gone through my life. But as the story's been told, I guess, like now we own professional triathlon team, which has 8 pro athletes. I saw a kind of black hole in the triathlon industry where pro triathletes aren't really being evaluated as much as pro athletes are in other sports because probably, it's not as marketable in terms of spectatorship, but that's changing, right? So part of what we wanted to do for the Real Triathlon Squad is provide more content creation, more brands to come to us non-endemically, whether it's, car companies, banks, insurance agencies, et cetera, for more marketing. We've got a lot of followers. We got a podcast. We've got a lot of podiums, great team. And now we're transitioning. Have you heard of Super League Triathlon?
Nope.
So Super League Triathlon is, I would say it's like the Formula One of triathlon. It's like three races held each maybe 20 minutes each with either elimination style or continuous swim, bike, run, bike, swim, etc. And it's usually all raced by short course specialists like Olympians. So RTS is also bought in and we're managing a Formula One style triathlon team through Super League now. We've got other championship teams that we're competing against. So that starts this year too. So that's kind of it in a nutshell for what I do and why I do it.
Love it, dude. Okay, quick comment on how to make triathlon more exciting on the short term, before we have Neuralink and we can get in the minds of athletes and hear them say, oh, fuck, that hurts. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I think it'd be cool to just add mics, like to their helmets or something. And because, they say things, maybe connect them with their coach. So just like in Formula One, you could hear about the comments and about the struggles and so forth. First person type of, I'm pretty sure you've seen the Drive to Survive Netflix series. I interviewed the guy that was actually commenting it on this pod not so long ago. So how can we make triathlon more exciting?
It has to be more immersive. Like people, everybody is swam, biked, or run in some regard, right? So you can connect at least to it sucks on some level. And wow, these people are doing it way fucking faster than I ever could. So that's the entry point. But how do we make it exciting and riveting? Yeah, the live data, watching the power of the heart rate, the suffering happen. I love pro cycling is a good example where you've got a lot of the team commissaires and everybody in the cars screaming at the cyclists. The Drive to Survive series also was spun off into the tennis one, and now we've got the Tour de France Unchained, I believe it's called. So right. You can see more of that. So yeah, triathlon needs, and that's also, to your point, Super League Triathlon, give that a watch this season because I'm a team manager. I will be calling shots to either give a short shoot to one of my athletes who's going to cut 25 yards off of the run course. We have to talk to the athletes in between the heats where they have 2 minutes to rest. You will see that actual commentary. So I think the future for immersive triathlon is happening, to your point, and that's a great question.
Love it, man. We've seen Lionel do it really good as well, Lionel Sanders on YouTube, because why do folks or CEOs like me got into Ironmans in the first place? It's a mindset. It's the mental aspect, Obviously, there's some ego, like, oh, I finished Ironman. But it's mostly the mindset download that you get when you're there. And Lionel, well, most of it is about his training. We've seen other triathletes follow the same path. He's building sponsors at the same time. He's getting paid. People are paid subscribers to his channel. So I think he does it well. I think his wife films the content and uploads it for him. And Lionel, a lot of his content, apart from the training, the nutrition, and all of that, is just like pure mindset, right? You get to follow him like in his tough moments, when he's training, when he's overtraining, all the struggles he goes through. Very OCD-ish person, and I think these are the most successful athletes, like the most successful CEOs. What do you think about the mindset aspect of the content, and where it could take triathlete content to the next level?
That's like one of the better questions you could ask me, because as a coach, the majority of the clients I coach are very concierge level, to where they are CEOs, they have their own jets. They don't give, money is no object, but they still want to identify as that triathlete. They still want to go out and have the VIP experience, but they want to suffer. We've all pushed ourselves and been successful in something, but the human body, we have this inherent urge to see, what can my body do if it's pushed? And I've got a coach who's been there, done that. The nutrition, the mindset, the sports psych, all that stuff is kind of capsulated. And we're like handling the day to day, because triathlon is stress, work is stress, driving is stress. It's just more stress. So how do we, I guess that's more the mindset of the A-type personalities. How much can I take on? How much can I grind it out? And how much can I beat that other asshole who's behind me now? It's
Right.
like that little chip on the shoulder. So most athletes I do coach are of the successful mind and body already. They have the personality. They're willing to invest in themselves, because let's face it too, this is a healthy way, mostly a healthy way to live. You're thinking about the diet, you're burning calories. You can still go out and have, your VIP parties and not get too out of shape, as long as you're training well and resting well. So I think this sport and the mindset it takes suits the CEO pristine. Like most people, when you go out and watch an Ironman and spectate, you'll see probably maybe 30% who are of that caliber, and the rest are maybe just one and done, heard about it from a friend or something. But I think that, like you said, like CEOs want more, they're hungry, and this is a great sport to give it to them.
I think Ironman is one of the brands that did the best job out there to put a prestigious brand. How prestigious is that little red Ironman logo? A bunch of people have it tatted up on their ankles, on their arms. Like, what other companies do you see having people getting tattoos like that? Like, how do you create such a prestige behind that brand?
Yeah, MMA is not even doing that, right? I mean, I don't think are they tattooing MMA things?
Dude, like, I don't see UFC logos, and if I would see it, I'd be, nah, man, nah.
Yeah, it's a little,
it's like a fan, like most UFC fans, they don't practice the craft.
I think that's a big difference, right? The participation aspect of the Ironman sport, but that's also that's been a negative impact sometimes to the professional competition, because let's say Ironman as a business is taking in, billions from age group athletes who are paying between $400 and $1,000 or even more to pay sometimes in the VIP experience. And what are the pro athletes bringing to the sport? And I think that narrative is actually changing to where the value we bring is way more. When athletes show up to a race that doesn't have a pro field, it doesn't feel as prestigious. You can't rate yourself as much against the best in the world. So I think the Ironman M dot, that little red tattoo everybody gets, I think that might be happening less, and as opposed to what it was happening, because we had maybe a pre-chat, and it's like maybe Ironman distance racing, just like marathoning, is a little bit more basic now. Like what's next? What's the next extreme event? Is it ultra 100-mile UTMB qualification? But again, you don't see ultra runners tattooing themselves with anything. So I don't know why that is like such a cult following, but it's good and bad, right?
Yeah, mostly good and impressive. From my standpoint, I've never seen other brands do it. I mean, I do Spartan races also. I have an ultra plan this year. I love doing Spartan races more than I love doing Ironmans, but every event I go to next to Ironmans, I'm somewhat disappointed, because Ironmans are so well organized. Everything is clean. Everything is perfect. So yeah, it's just a masterclass that I'm pretty sure they're gonna teach at Harvard Business School on how to brand your shit, basically. And yeah, that question. I mean, it is a very good one, because first, our human bodies, most of them are not made to go that distance. Then it begs the question, Goggins, one of my favorite guys, especially when I'm training for ultra events. I mean, the guy broke his shins, and he's in terrible shape nowadays. Do I want to get to there? Probably not. One hack that I've discovered lately has been running with these Vibram 5 fingers. It takes a long time to adapt, but I'm seeing like a drastic shift in my body. My feet are so much stronger, and I think I can go the distance. Nowadays, when I train for let's say 21K or 25K, I don't get any weird pains in my knees or in my ankles. And I used to do that with very good running shoes that most people use. So the question is, yeah, how far is enough? And then if you want to go the distance, how do you have longevity into this? Because I don't want to stop running. It's so fun. It helps me decompress as a CEO. So what tips do you have for us on that level?
It's all about putting yourself first, right? Your health. If you can't perform, you can sit in a chair all day, but you can waste away at that same period of time. But if you can't invest in yourself first, then you're doing your company, your followers a disservice. So the longevity of you is going to be coming along with investing to create a team around you that's going to give you the best advice on, okay, well, for this specific event, you need to have this kind of pivot. But let's say it is only running. Let's say you want to do an ultra, or you just want to do a marathon. Just the problem I see most with the CEO mentality going into these events is we want everything all at once, right? That's the problem. We can't have everything all at once with the human body. It takes a very, very slow, long approach. And then once you get to that kind of 70% area of stability, you can exponentially increase the volume and the intensity. So the most important thing you can do is increase volume slowly and just don't worry about intensity. Just a little bit of volume, little bites over time. And that way, all the little imperfections in your running, your weaknesses in your knees or your joints or your muscle lengthening in your posterior chain can happen slowly rather than pulling a muscle, rupturing something. So that's the best advice. Take it very slow. And that's very tough. And that's why I am employed, because people get injured. And let's just say you're going to do this for your first time. I'm a guy who's going to take 2 to 3 years of stumbling, fumbling, medical procedures, all kinds of issues and nutrition. I will help you fix all that. So hire somebody or get the ear of somebody who knows what they're doing, and never take advice from anyone who's more fucked up than you. Okay. So that's the number 2 rule. Only take good advice from like a Lionel Sanders. Like that's a guy you want to take some advice from. And obviously he's put it all out there so you can see his failures. We got to be vulnerable within that range. But yeah, I think that's probably it, man. Just be very, very slow, be cautious. Don't just, the biggest thing I hear when people call me and they're like, oh man, I messed up. I just felt good and I went for it. Like if you say I just feel good, so I'm going to go for it, you better have a lot of proven little benchmarks to make sure that going for it is going to be worth it. Is it okay just to be a hero in training and blow up on race day? No, you want to go for the gold on race day and celebrate and have that great day. So having a structured approach is really important. That might answer the question.
That was good. Yeah. Now, how can we take this mindset and apply it to business? Like in business, for example, I go with the feeling quite a lot, and I'm a very cerebral guy, but I accumulate so much points of data and my brain is somewhat healthy, so it can make sense of that data until it becomes intuition. I still look at data every now and then. I've been also data obsessed, data OCD, like I have OCD in my veins. But I found it was creating more stress and not that much results. I was somewhat the same with Ironman training. I never want to follow a fucking plan, like me, I'm this pirate. I don't want to follow any orders and I do have a structure, but it's kind of this magic. It's more art than science. So how can we take this data oriented approach and apply it to business?
That's perfect. I mean, I always tell my athletes the same thing. You have the data because we capture heart rate, pace, steps per minute, power on the run, everything we can measure now. But also What if you can't meet that measurement because you're tired, you haven't been rested, you're injured? So you have to go for more of the artist approach, where you have to feel it, you have to be in tune with your body, and the data at that point takes a back seat. So the same thing with business, intuition, and making sure that the gut instincts you have are available to you without cluttering it all up, because it can get very foggy when you start second guessing everything. That's a really good rule for this sport, is if it feels good in the gut and if it feels right at the moment, and you've got sound mind and now all the clouds are kind of gone and you've got that focus, you can go for it. So with business, that's the same thing. Like you sometimes you just can't make something happen. You have to wait for something to happen. And that's usually like putting all that energy out there. If you put all that energy out there, if you think of abundance and bringing it into your lifestyle and your fitness, and you're just like not picking everything apart with all the negativity, then I promise you, like every door opens. I'm a prime example of that. I've had zero reason to be right here right now in terms of having a startup, being successful as a professional, and making a good lifestyle out of this. I was a no direction guy, went to the Air Force, got a great lifestyle out of that, learned that hard work can beat talent no matter who you are. And that's probably everything to go with business. And I had to also wait for opportunities to come to me and have the presence of mind and the gut instinct to say, this is an opportunity and I'm going to sacrifice now so I can have something in 8 to 10 months. And that's practical for every business.
Very much, man. One quick parenthesis. I interview a lot of CEOs, and frankly, they don't look good. Some of them look like shit. I think people that CEOs should take their health more seriously, right? I interview lots of successful CEOs on this podcast. One main reason is that they're obsessed and they're only focused on business. Spirituality takes a backseat, health takes a backseat, relationship takes a backseat, even lifestyle take a backseat. They don't even enjoy the fruits of their labor. I'd encourage them to just touch on other aspects of your life and go for scale, because I see all these hustlers at 30 years old, and I can't imagine how they'll look at 50, that they'll look like shit. So just take care of yourself and understand that if you go for a scale, also you can have better output over time. And it's not about going all in all the time. One last question for you. And that's a business concept that I wanted to kickstart, I think, earlier this year. So the start of this year was uncertain for many folks, including myself. The economy, like, it was very uncertain. I'm not sure if you remember the climate, like with the inflation and all of that shit. And that kind of got through my mind at the beginning of this year. And I just flipped a switch, and I was like, okay, I need to take care of myself. I need to switch mindset, because it was negative news everywhere and just a toxic environment. So I began to doing ultra hits at home. That's like 2 to 3 hours hits workout. And I finished these workouts, I would automatically fall in a meditative state. And that helped me super much to thrive in all other areas of my life, in mindset, in my business and so forth. And the mentality was like, oh, let's do an Ironman, but at home. What do you think about that business concept if I would bring like a bunch of executives on a Zoom call and I have them go through this military Navy SEAL type training? Do you feel it could help some of them?
They'd have to, like, what I've noticed in working with the type of people like that is, everything's disposable, first off, which is the main problem. So the second they're turned off by any aspect, it could be small, it could be big. The second they're turned off, you don't have their attention anymore. And you've got, 3 seconds of their attention anyways. So it's tough. I think if you make it a process to where these people have hit a health risk, most people don't make these changes until the shit is hitting the fan, where their doctor's telling them you need to make a drastic change in your lifestyle. That's when they hire a guy like me or another personal trainer who can handle everything without going so I think most importantly, what matters for that type of environment is you get the right people, and you want to do like probably only 5 or 6, because keeping it a light, nice, tight little competitive group rather than 15 or 20 where you're going to have cliques within, that's probably going to get a little bit too much to manage, and you'll probably have a high attrition rate. So I think setting aside ways to challenge these CEOs in a way that's going to give them a lot of time to be in their own mind, exhaust a lot of the negative bullshit that we all kind of deal with. And then once you've exhausted that chimpanzee of negativity, you can focus on the positive flow of vibes and production and make the calls and get people, because obviously these people aren't doing a lot of the work. They're calling people to get the work done. They can put the right people in place to get it done, and then they can move on and then enjoy their life and have the fruits of their labor come in without as much stress. So physical exertion it's wired into us. That's why people are doing Ironman, because life is good, but we want to see what we can do on a human level, not driving. Formula One is great, but even then it's a car doing all the work and the human body's getting thrashed. But even those guys, like even Valtteri Bottas does freaking gravel cycling because he wants to see what he can do outside of Formula One. So I think pushing the CEOs to exhaustion, to a breaking point, to where they have to then recalibrate and come back with more fine precision is the absolute key. So it's a great concept. I would just start small with a group of people who actually need it.
Right. And the Valtteri Bottas analogy and example is a great way to end this podcast. Like as a CEO, like again, touch other fields of your life. GSP, he was touching gymnastics, he was touching swimming now. So try to go across these disciplines and pick insights and bring it back to yours. Nick, thank you so much for adding that much value today. Like, it's been amazing. Where can people find out more about you?
It's easy, just realtrisquad.com. That's our main website for everything we have. You can reach out for coaching, advice, watch our team, or my Instagram race_chase. And that's pretty much as easy